How you guys doing this week?
Hi.
Great, great, great.
I've been running all day. I am exhausted. I've been going since 5 o'clock this morning. Well, no one wants to hear about that. Uh-oh. Here comes Lemuel Hines. Uh-oh. I wonder how his dad's doing. We'll get an update. Well, guys, welcome back to another week. As you know, this week we're going to have a discussion. We went so hard last week. I mean, we went so hard in the paint. Shame on you, folks. Shame on you. We've got some beautiful, beautiful souls joining us this week for the discussion. Hey, guys, I thank you for hanging out with me for another week. Welcome to another episode of Palms Up, where we keep our eye on the community. As we always ask the question, the $1 million question, who's watching the kingdom? Welcome, Miss Barbara Shields and Mr. Lemuel Hines. Thank you for joining us another week. How's it going? Can you guys hear us? Well, guys, welcome to another episode of Palms Up. This week, we're going to have a discussion. Guys, with so much going on in the community, the biggest thing is that we make sure we keep our connection to one another. And we're going to talk to our beautiful, first and foremost, welcome, Real Talk, Miss Ann Coles. Thank you for being with us another week. How goes it?
It's going well. I'm enjoying this beautiful sunshine weather. Make me want to put up the grill and barbecue a little bit.
What you know about it? Thanks so much for joining us another week. I look forward to having another beautiful show. You guys see me wrestling in the background. I'm sorry. As usual, the set falls apart no matter where I am. Hey, Mr. Unapologetically Speaking, how are you doing for another week? Thank you so much for joining us. How's it going?
Awesome. Busy as ever, but
don't I know about it? Well, guys out there in Facebook Live, by now you found us, and I hope you guys are following and staying with us weekly so that you can follow this word. Last week we had such a wonderful roundup of guests, and we've been having a beautiful showing of guests each week as we've been doing this. And so this week I'm excited for us just to kind of kick back and have a discussion. How about that? Palms up?
Palms up.
Palms up, let's hit it. Guys, our Palms Up app out there, for those of you that don't know already, is Palms Up, the number 4 MI. Palms Up for Mental Intelligence is what we call it. Palms Up for MI, the number 4. All righty, guys, our website is healthydcandme.org. Spell the word "and" out. You can catch the link. I've put the information up. If you guys want to come in and join our virtual audience, you're always welcome to do so. This is a community platform. And guys, without any further ado, I'm going to jump right in, because word on the street says that DC has loosened some of the COVID-19 restrictions just in time for spring. Well, what does that look like? Let's talk about it. Outdoor gatherings are up to 50 people. And then they say that the indoor dining, that they can go up to 25% capacity, or at least up to 250 people. Hear me? And then movie theaters. How about that? Movie theaters may open with no more than 25 people in each auditorium. Also, they say that the indoor fitness classes may resume up to 10 people. But then it talks about the outdoor fitness classes being able to go up to 50. So I know a lot of folks, such as myself included, excited to hear about that. So see if I can get disciplined to get out there. Also, they talk about the applications for the spring sports and the low to moderate contact sports, that they are obviously resuming or able to begin. And then also the playgrounds are opening back up. Guys, experts obviously are warning that possible case spikes may still happen, even though this COVID vaccine is being administered. Fox 5's reporter says that in Maryland, for example, that over a stretch of 4 days, they've already seen at least 1,000 new COVID-19 cases. And then they say when they look at the 7-day stretch, it's up to 1,500 new COVID cases. I'm just saying, guys, we got some tough decisions out there to make. Be wise now. Our babies are important as well as we are. So I know that things are opening up, but don't take these vaccines being available too lightly. We still seeing case spikes out there, and we don't want anybody to get COVID unnecessarily. As we've been talking about, the vaccine, it's a personal decision. And if you're not going to get the vaccine, then we're at least here at Healthy DC and Me, leadership is asking that you guys would at least make responsible decisions in staying social distance, being properly eating your meals, your vegetables, you know what I'm saying, being healthy, guys, making wise choices, and not forgetting to wear your mask. Guys, also the word on the street, and I just had to bring this up, is that Prince Harry has a new job. And why did it make our word on the street, and why do we even care? Well, because mental health matters on this platform, and palms up. Prince Harry is what did they say? He is a new executive. He's the chief impact officer at a mental health app called Better Up. And basically he's going to be a mental health coach. How cool is that? It's one thing to be dealing with mental health, but then to have Prince Harry be your coach, I think that's pretty awesome. So I guess Better Up is going to have a lot of people run into their app, not that they didn't already have, and that's a beautiful thought coming from our perspective. Guys, also, and I think that deserves another palms up. I like that. Congratulations, Prince Harry. We're going to talk a little bit more about mental health and royals and things going on later in the discussion briefly. But then also the word on the street is that DC statehood. All right, it's time to have this discussion again, guys, and we're pushing hard for it, but there's some out there that feel that the Republicans, they're using nonsensical arguments to justify anti-statehood stance. Taxation without representation has not been more, echoed than now. Guys, we have got to speak out. We've got to come together as a city. We got a lot of things that we need to talk about, but most definitely this statehood has to be at the top of our list. And so everything that I'm talking to you about, all of these stories will be on our archives page on the Healthy DC and Me website. So I talk fast, I get it, but you should really take some time out and read the stories, guys. They are very interesting. Again, healthydcandme.org. Make sure you're spelling the word "and" out, and go to the archives page so you can read these stories, guys. That is the word on the street, and I'm so excited to get through those because we've got a conversation to have tonight. If you didn't know, you need to tell somebody and invite them to the conversation. Love, accountability, and oppression are the three words that are going to be centered around our discussion tonight. And again, I thank our beautiful guests for joining in, and I thank our Facebook audience for following along. Guys, tonight we're going to have a frank discussion about, or surrounding, I should say, the gun violence, the racism, the oppression, the homelessness, the mental crises, everything, COVID-19, death is all around us in the community, but yet and still we're so divided as a people. And as we promised you on our platform, this is where we come and we talk about our issues our way, because we got some work to do, got some splaining to do, as they say. Hey guys, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry recently took a lot of flack. They had some support when they did their Oprah interview. And one of the issues that came out of it, although many did, one of the bombshell issues was the fact that not her racism, but that was a problem as well, but the fact that she had couldn't find any help for her mental health concerns, and the fact that she felt like she didn't even want to be here any longer, was very suicidal in her description of things. And people were, I was reading some of the reviews, and over in England, there was a lot of blowback because she would be so, demeaning towards the Queen. And, you read some of these comments, and it just really puts it in perspective when we talk about stigma in mental health, and the reality that mental health it matters, and we're always saying it. But for our folks out there, we did a show last week and we talked to members of the church community, and we talked about some of the stigma that folks encounter in their worship community. And to understand that Meghan Markle, my God, married to a prince, Princess Diana's daughter-in-law, by God, would be a part of such a high-reaching accomplishment, or family or integration, and mental health would be at the forefront of that. So just to put it in context, to let folks know that it transcends all lifestyles is my point. And so tonight I want to talk about, in our communities, the reality of how many feel trapped in their situations, the reality of the gun violence being representative of the ongoing trauma. We keep talking about mental health matters, and I'm always concerned that we're not breaking it down enough. We don't intend to come from a judgmental standpoint, but the reality of being able to change things or help to be about the change is to be able to discuss them. So sometimes some institutions that are non-effective have to theoretically be torn down in order that they can be rebuilt and be rebuilt in a manner so as to include us all. And so tonight's discussion, we're talking about love, accountability, and oppression surrounding the ongoing issues in our community. And I'm going to ask my counterparts to come along with us on this journey as we just kind of word association and bring the discussion generically, because I really believe that many folks think that we're scripted, that we do this for some sort of glory or fame. And the truth of the matter is that if we don't continue talking about these issues that are plaguing us as a people, then we stay divided. And when we stay divided, we are not winning. There are too many issues in the community. So without any further ado, welcome to another week, guys. Palms up. That was a long introduction. How about that? I want to talk to you guys this week when we talk about gentrification being, very well underway. We obviously understand that we've got some challenges in the community, and many folks are very uncomfortable because we are talking about and keeping the focus on mental health, so much so that it was important for me to stop for a minute, because I think sometimes folks forget the reality of the issues that we are facing in these communities, and whether or not we live in them still or not, the truth of the matter is that we are all a people and we should care about one another. And so, Mr. Kenneth Clark, welcome back for another week. And I was just wondering if you could come into the conversation and talk to me a little bit about the reality of love in present day form as we talk about a pandemic and the reality of so many still struggling. Just love, when I say that word, what conversation do you bring?
Caring, love. You love a person, that means you care about them. You care. There's a caring that takes place. Love, something that really should be displayed in the midst as well as before the pandemic have even hit. And so love it's the essence, it's life. It's like the life support for humanity. And we kind of get off track because we somehow allow materialism, or we allow a lot of rhetoric to get in the way, and what we see is kind of like what we have before us. We have some missing pieces of the puzzle, and people are getting overlooked, and people are not being they're not being valued. People feel that there's no hope because there's no love being displayed. And when you have that type of absentness, you see what's happening all around us. You see the crime, you see the disparity, you see the distress, and things take place because that essence, that attribute, love, is missing.
Yeah, that's very well said. Hey, Pastor Coles, how's it going, sis?
Going well, going well.
You got that distinguished look on your face, like you really got something you get ready to release. Love, sis.
Well, see, I look at love in two directions, but not 85% people deal with love from an emotional standpoint. And that's where the downfall happens. But when you get love as an action, it's just because.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't know how to do just because love, because we are in the physical, emotional beings. Um, and as our society gets more and more automated, we become less sensitive to one's feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's mostly now like you're a robot.
Yeah.
And with this pandemic coming in, it has really put in place that you're like a robot, to be honest. It has really taken away where you have the ability to even interact. And in some ways, it has brought families closer together, but in some ways, it has torn families apart as well. Um, it's an old song say there's a thin line between love and hate.
Between love and hate. Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and that's what we see in our society today. But
Well,
to
hold
some
it
people,
right there, Pastor. I don't mean to cut you. I want to get
okay,
it move around a little bit. You touched on something. Society today, Mr. Lemuel Hines. You look like you're mulling it over. Love, come into the conversation and welcome back, brother. Love. Will you expound on that?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say it's good to be back. Good to see all of y'all.
Thank you. Good to
Miss
have you
Rhonda,
back.
Pastor Ann, Pastor Ann. Okay, yeah, I'm very privileged to talk about love tonight. Um, I look at love as an action. Um, it's a it's an action word that is an expression of what is your obligation as a person. Our obligation is to love one another, um, and a lot of um, a lot of times we get love misunderstood, um, based upon how somebody treats us. My mom told me taught me one thing about love is, and it's not what you do to me, but it's how I treat you. And regardless of how a person treats another person, we got as individuals, if we know what is right, it is our obligation to do what is right. And that's by loving someone regardless of if they don't love you back.
Wow, I'm gonna stop right there. Wow, that's deep. Welcome to the conversation, Apostle Durham. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Oh, awesome. Palms up to you, dear sister. Thanks for joining us in our virtual audience in our discussion this evening. And we're just expounding on the word love. I thought it'd be a great place to start. We're going through so much loss and we're so disconnected as a community. And we would love to hear you expound on the word love. We're just doing word association right now. Would you join us?
All right. Love is an action word. And that action word is, how would you say, is a dying species in the body, in the world, period. We can't love unless we see love. And if they're not showing it at the church, how can we see it in the world? You know, we the body of Christ should operate in love, but we don't even operate in love amongst each other. So how can they see agape love if they don't see us love? So the problem is not with the world, it's with the church.
That's a wonderful place. Wow, that's a wonderful place to leave that there. Thank you for that. Miss Barbara, are you still having challenges hearing us? I think maybe she is. Barbara, can you
No,
hear? Oh, awesome.
yes, I can
Welcome
hear you.
to the oh, hello, Queen. She was having some audio.
Hi, how are you?
Look, I was risking bringing that little chat screen up just to get my girl on. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the conversation, dear Queen Love.
You're welcome.
Love, when I say that word to you, what comes to mind? Do you define it? Are you it? Are you, love? Will you just expound for us?
I'm just listening right now. I'm gonna speak in a little bit.
No problem. Welcome. That's fine. Well, guys, I asked the question because, as you heard me say tonight, we're just having a general discussion because I feel like oftentimes when we have our guests on, the hour goes so fast that folks we don't get to really expound. And as we are in spring, the spring season, winter is officially gone. And as they open up the boundaries and we start to come out and about, it is important that we make certain that we hold on to certain principles that we would have had to deal with and learn through this COVID-19. And I just feel like that the center of our disconnection is, we're not having enough discussion and showing of love, accountability, of course, and then the oppression. And the reason why I say the word oppression, the reality of what we must be suppressing or oppressing in order to go forward in our everyday struggles. So I want to talk to you guys about something. We had a show and we talked about the reality of us wanting to see this gun violence stop. I know that Overseer Ann, you do your put your guns down, lift your hands up movement. And we talked about in one of the shows that we didn't own anything downtown commercially in terms of real estate, and that across the nation, we represent 1%. As I talk about the disconnection in our community in correlation to the gun violence, what would ownership change, you think, in terms of behavior? The conversation tonight is just structured to just bounce around and talk about the relationship, the core relationship to our underlying issues in the community as it relates to our disconnection. And so, Kenneth, when I talk to you about the lack of ownership as it relates to the divide, the despair, the oppressed natures, would ownership change anything, you think?
Tough question.
Yeah, you know me. I'm trying to go there.
That's something really tough. I was always brought up that that you have to, when you're in pursuit of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you've worked hard for it,
Mm-hmm.
you develop an appreciation of that, of what you own.
Yeah.
Because you've had to put something in it, a sacrifice, time, work, had to go into it to obtain it. And so I would say, from that standpoint, it should matter. You know how they say you do, the word of God says you do unto others as you have done unto you.
Mm-hmm.
So the objective is that you would think, you think from that perspective, that owning something, that you would take care of it, and that it would just be become a different culture, to become a different lifestyle, if you may.
Okay.
When you own
Different
it.
discipline when you're an owner of something. Maybe you wouldn't be so quick to tear something down that you own. And so maybe that might impact the decision making. That's a thought. Okay. And I'm jumping around again. Overseer Ann, I got to thinking about the word accountability. I think that the lack of accountability in many arenas in this discussion is contributing and has contributed to the divide, if you will. And so bad living, just in and of itself, as it relates to the contributory factor of the divide. When I talk to you from a standpoint in our community, and addressing bad living. What are we identifying with when we say bad living? Because maybe folks don't identify or recognize that some of the choices they're making are contributory factors to, the oppressed state that they're living in and things of that nature. So how is that contributing to the gun violence, in your opinion, with your movement and all? Will you share some light?
Well, first of all, when you say bad living, that's on each person, because what might be bad living to me might not be bad living to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to look at it for that. When it comes to the gun violence and you talk about ownership, some of the violence is protecting what they think they own.
Mm-hmm.
So any means necessary to
Let's talk
protect.
about that for a minute. I see you putting those exclamation points in there. So let's talk about what they own. What ownership? Because and then let's define first and foremost what we talk about when we say ownership: deeded property. Something that you would have, purchased in a sale, in an exchange. Things of that nature. When you speak of ownership, which is a wonderful point, will you come through with that and expound?
Okay, well, when you, again, it's based on a person.
Yeah.
Let's give a prime example. If you're a DC resident, you purchase a home, you purchase an office building, you don't own the land. You just own that building.
You
So
do own a
technically,
deed. You own a deed, though. You have a
yeah,
deed.
but what I'm saying is you don't have true ownership.
Okay, well, let's back up for a minute because I don't want to get off track. I'm basically speaking in the sense of the divide of the communities that we're serving, as it relates to the gun violence, as it relates to the despair and things like that. So I wanted to bring a conscious conversation that
Okay.
help someone that might be in that situation. And I'm almost sure that most of who we're speaking of probably, in terms of purchasing real estate and leased office space and things like that, is probably, I wanted to kind of bring it from another perspective.
Okay, let's bring it from a education perspective. We all can relate to that. I think one of the worst things that hurt our people, period, of all ages, is when you step into a classroom and you're talked down to. You're not going to be nothing. You're never going to be nothing.
Thank you.
In our homes, you're talked about, well, you act like your mother, you act like your father, you wasting your time. So you're tearing a person down so they don't even feel that they own anything, that they even own themselves. They don't even know who they are. So until you can kind of learn who you are and the circle you in to try to pour into some positive stuff, there is no ownership.
Thank you.
You don't have no foundation.
And that's what I wanted that to come out. And the reason being, it's so easy to judge. It's so easy to say, won't they stop the guns? But if you're not able to walk in the shoes of the individuals that are making the decisions to carry these guns, then you don't really get it. And so again, I'm going to pull it out of you guys because again, I don't want them to feel like it's scripted. And sometimes we got to go there in order to get the point across. Apostle Durham, I was wondering if you would expound, if you would. I was fortunate to catch dear brother, God, his name escapes me, but he was talking a little bit about the labels that the ADHD and the ADD and things of that nature that, they assign to our children because they don't really understand who we are as a people. And again, I'm going here because if there's someone, hopefully in our viewing audience, whether it's a mother or a parent or the child themselves or youth that is lost their way because of labeling, I want to tear down all these institutions of yesterday that have us so divided today, basically. Apostle Durham, would you expound in terms of perspective when you, in that context, in terms of the labeling of our children, ADHD, ADD, and some of these other labels? You gotta unmute. You were ready. You got the
Yeah.
gun loaded.
It's just exactly what you said, labeling. People with a gun is labeled owner of a gun. So if I got a gun and I own it, I got the right to use it. People that institutions that label these children, those children own that label all throughout their life.
Mm-hmm.
I deal with children that have been labeled, and parents don't know once they're labeled, it goes through school, and it has to do with them getting a job or even getting into service. Because I dealt with those that could not go into the service because they were labeled ADHD. So that young man could not get in the service. That young woman could not get in recruiting because she was labeled schizophrenic. So these labels, which mainly is put on the Black children, mainly, they travel with them throughout their life. It's not, let me say this. My grandson doesn't go to public school way before public school was put on Zoom because he was doodling in school on paper. The teacher walked by, saw what he was doing, and labeled him suicidal. Police came in and escorted him with handcuffs out of the school. And they wanted to label him, but my daughter took him out because she would not let them label, because that label carries weight.
Absolutely.
Just like ownership, you're putting a name to a face. Ownership saying that palms up. If I'm downtown and I have a business building that says palms up, then I'm putting a face and a place to that name.
Absolutely.
So we put a face and a place to children, ADHD, bipolar, disorderly conduct,
we're always saying that you're bigger than your diagnosis. Thank you so much for that. You're so on point. Hey, Mr. Lemuel Hines, can I bring you back into the conversation? Is Black, in your opinion, is that a crutch, a curse, or some other word that you would insert? Is Black, or is being Black, a crutch, in your opinion, a curse, or some other word that you would insert?
Interesting. Well, Black in this society, again, has been labeled. That's a good good word to even say.
I'll treat it like a game show. If you want to do a tag team thing or lifeline, and you can pull somebody in. You're not gonna flunk or fail. There's no fail or pass.
Right. Label is definitely the word that I can attach to that, because society today has put that on it, and it's a stigma, I would say.
What's a stigma? Being Black?
A stigma.
Wow. And post George Floyd, you feel that?
That's because of what media has labeled what Black is. Even you go back into if you go back into what the color Black means, I'm not going to even go there.
But you did, though.
Because there's so many derogatory things.
Yeah.
If you look in the dictionary, 95% of it is really derogatory towards what Black really means.
Yeah.
And to me, Black is only it's just a color or a culture or a different way of looking at something.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
just like if I was to go into China and see somebody that was yellow, that's just another culture, but it's another way of life or another way of looking at something.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. I like that. I was being sarcastic so that I could get you to open up, and I'm glad you did. Hey,
But I like that word stigma.
yeah, that stigma is a
Because stigma is another word for label.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
I looked it up and it says a mark of
mark of
disgrace.
disgrace. Believe me, I know it well. Thank you for that, Apostle Durham. Stigma. Hey, Mr. Kenneth Clark, question. Martin, Malcolm, why only one? Why is it we did a 1 million man march and here we are. What is it going to take? We've lost George Floyd and so many others. The pandemic is among us, and still we're divided as a people. Why do we have to just get one to rise up, to get us to come together, to speak out? What is it, in your opinion?
We had this conversation, right?
Mhm.
And it's so interesting because it's the fact of that we all have a role to play. We talk about accountability,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Accountability comes with education. And once we get back to the education process, because we do come from, despite what's being put into the media, despite the different things that's put out there to get us to not value who we are as beings. It goes back to understanding who we are, our identity. We are royal priesthood. We are kings. We're Black men. We're Black queens. We come from a bloodline, from a spiritual bloodline of overcoming.
Okay,
And so
I gotta stop because I want to run out of time. It's getting good. So if that's the case, and because that's the case, why does it take us so long to get us, some leaders in front of us to get us mobilized? How in the face of gentrification, do we still sit in these institutionalized relationships and our people are still living the way they are in Woodbury Village present day? Where are our leaders, our real leaders, not these folks that we keep robotically going to the voting polls to put in, and they're getting lost under this Democratic label and all this political stuff. We talking about real life accountabilities, people stuff.
it still starts with education and knowing who we are. Education.
Okay. Education and knowing who we are. I love that. Welcome
We
to
have a
our
problem
audience.
of
I'm sorry.
blame game.
Say it again.
The problem is we still deal with the blame game and don't want to be accountable for our own actions.
Okay, so
we always put
blame game.
Somebody else.
Okay, putting it on somebody else.
Yep.
Okay. I like that. I like that deposit. Hey, welcome to the conversation. Tonight we are expounding on the foundation of us as a people present day, as we look at the despair and the death all around us in our communities. And we're just expounding on different aspects of the conversation to understand or help others understand the reality of their behaviors and the reality of their living, and the fact that the guns are still going off, although the council member and the mayor says we're in a state of emergency. And then across the nation, look, we just had gunfire in Colorado that killed 10, and then we had 8 down in Atlanta, and then the Asian folks community have spoken out. We are just a city and a nation that is under siege with this gun violence. And so love, accountability, and oppression are at the forefront. Welcome to the conversation, Mr. Willie Walker. I would love to be able to get your understanding of the Black marriage as we talk about foundation and relationship to the gun violence and the despair and where we are as a people. This is just a conversation. There's no pass or fail. In your opinion, the state of Black marriage and its relevance. Will you unmute and come to the conversation? Welcome.
Black marriage, I think that we feel like that, marriage is sacred. So, you know what I'm saying? If we married for the wrong reasons. We married because he have a child by me. So let's get married. And we jump into marriage because we think it's right. Because we got people love to get people into covenants. And we don't honor, our parents. When our parents say, wait. I too myself didn't wait, and I believe all marriages are not from God. When God puts it together, he puts it together.
Amen.
And for me, when I see the rate of marriages and there's a lot going on when it comes down to that, because when people get married, they marry because somebody else got married. Or they feel like that, you know what I'm saying, that God gonna get me because I'm still doing X, Y, and Z. You just need to know how to, focus on your singleness. You need to focus on how to get you right before you start jumping anything, because we want to rush into stuff and we want to jump into stuff and we have no idea. We don't get counseling. We just jump into stuff. I also too have jumped into stuff. I rushed into stuff and then I didn't get the help. So I went through the traffic of life, not, obeying the signs. There were signs that was out there. And I feel like that people don't, obey the signs when the signs are there. So it's certain thing we can look at when it's concerned about marriage. When I look at the Black people getting married, people's like, oh, I'm getting married. I said, well, did you do your background check? Do you, before you do anything, did you do a criminal history? And this is the different things that involves people, because they jump in something and next thing 3 months they divorce. Some secrets come out.
Well, brother, I'm gonna leave it right there with the secrets coming out, because you ain't did say nothing but a word. Thank you so much for that. Hey, Overseer, pick it up for me. We jumping around. We're talking about issues in the Black community as it relates to our current foundation, as it relates to the despair and the divide at a time when love, accountability, and oppressed beings are at risk. We're talking about the homelessness, the mental crisis on our platform, and the gun violence, Overseer Ann. Talk to us about Black on Black crime, because we're always talking about stereotypes, profiling, and but in the reality of it, in our come to Jesus moment, Black on Black crime. Can we talk about it in our house?
Yeah. Well, see, when you say Black on Black crime, it's just like it was said earlier, when the definition of Black is darkness. So again, you in a dark place. So, well, I'm sorry, I can't deal whether it's Black or white. It's an act.
Yeah, it's whatever with it. That's what this is about, education.
And the true matter is, it seems more elevated in our community, because a lot of our community haven't gone nowhere but in that community. So that's all they know. I have experienced in my travel where I've seen the white folk, how they treat each other, because if you don't meet a certain class, you beneath them. So it's just like, there's my light-skinned brother being beat up because they say he don't meet the criteria to be on that level. And with the truth of the matter, we're not going to get rid of the gun violence until we clean out our leaders in this government, because it's big money. Now, see, I'm going to be the elephant in the room.
That's right. That's why we do this.
That's the whole problem. It's our government officials. You know, a couple of months ago, I got a phone call from somebody in Chicago. All of a sudden, in the middle of a neighborhood, a whole case of automatic guns just appeared. Come on now. Now, if we're going to talk about our race, we don't operate like that.
Come on now. Come on now.
We don't operate like that. So the truth is, we need to start from the top and work our way down. But we got to realize, too, that this country was built on violence. They didn't come over here peacefully. They came kicking butt.
Yeah. Well,
so it's just in the DNA.
All right, we're going to leave it with the DNA. Thank you for that. Hey, Apostle Durham, will you come back and make another deposit to the conversation for us? Economics, as it relates to the despair, the divide, and the reality of the present day foundation for our people. Economics, how relevant in your opinion?
Well,
homelessness, is it a factor?
Yes, it's a factor. With economically, we're dealing with, say, the bougie down to the lower class. You know, the lower class don't know anything above that class because they really haven't tasted and seen. So how can I relate to something I have not tasted? If I have a set of children that's been adopted, a beautiful home, beautiful clothes, and they take the clothes out the clothes hanger and throw them in a corner, walled up, because they can associate fine clothes with how their clothes was when they lived in a lower class and they was balled up in a corner. That was more comfortable to them. So, we were trying to relate with something that's really a spiritual matter, to go back and find out where all this comes from, because racism is not normal, it's not earthly. So be it racism economically or anything else, it's not earthly. It started in heaven until we look and see where this stuff started. Racism came between the angels, good and evil. That's where it started. So we try to deal with a spiritual matter with earthly reasoning, and it's not going to happen.
Amen, sis. I appreciate that. Hey, Kenneth, really quickly, briefly, we've got our beautiful Mr. Failed Justice Advocate, Mr. Perry Red, has joined us from Sincere 7. Hello, Perry, and welcome to the discussion. Hey, Kenneth, strictly to you, because only you in our setting can speak to the millennial population. When we talk about generational wealth, what does that mean when you're a millennial and things are in the state that they are and we are so divided as a culture? Generational wealth, how is that relevant in this discussion, or is it, in your opinion? And let me do this. Let me, it was a loaded question. I tried to break it down, but in your fairness, the trappings of success, specifically the entertainment industry, as it relates to generational wealth or just in the moment, how is all of that factoring in? I'm sorry.
It factors in because we this is right up my alley. I love the entertainment, I love production. Despite all of the challenges that we have at hand, at bay, we as a Black people, we as a Black culture, we have created the arts. We created a lot of stuff. We created a lot of stuff during the time of slavery. We jumping the broom, the music, the hymns, we are a people that somehow, regardless of what we are immersed in, we know how to make light of the situation. So we gotta, we just gotta tap in.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you for a minute because I want you to be able to come back and chime in on it, because we've lost so many of our talented brothers in the rap industry, and that's what I wanted you to expound on in terms of legacy, generational wealth. Is there even a factor amongst your population when the trappings of fame come knocking? So I want you to be ready to respond. But Mr. Phil, Justice Advocate, welcome, welcome. Please unmute and come to the conversation. We're happy to have you, and we'd love for you to update us on where you are with the understandings of justice. I left that for you.
Well, thank you, Rhonda, and hello to everyone. This past week, since the last Palms Up TV, has been overwhelming with the incidents of failed justice. So, if you would allow me to share my screen with you, I want to focus on two incidents right, or two episodes of failed justice right here in the district. I did want to talk about the incidents of Asian assaults, and I also want to talk about the mass shooting and the inequality. But I'm going to focus on the district. So, if I may, I want to share my screen with you real quick.
Yes, you may. You should have co-host ability.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And I don't know if I'm there yet, but
We can't hear you, Perry. Can you turn it up somehow?
I will do my best.
You might have to improvise.
Do the best I can. Moving also across the country. Now, we've been here before. Some say we're closer now than ever before. That may be true. But this is why I'm worried. I'm worried because we've got folks who still believe that we are not equal to them. That's where justice fails. So our executive branch leader and our legislative branch leader testified before Congress, and there were many Congress, white men from other states who want to make sure that they make decisions for us.
Can you guys hear?
From the state of just yesterday.
We can't hear it.
Perry,
You're not hearing it, Rhonda?
no, we can't hear it. I don't want to get too far into it. It looks wonderful, but can you tell us basically, can you paraphrase?
Sure. Absolutely,
Thank
absolutely. If you can hear me, let me just say, we had the statehood hearing this week, and DC had the chairman of the council, Phil Mendelson, and the mayor, Muriel Bowser, testified before Congress. And what was apparent, white males were still opposing us making decisions for ourselves. It's not an amazing phenomenon because they've been doing it now since we got to discussion. But the thing about it is the arguments that they make, Muriel Bowser, our mayor, she pointed out that they were obsolete arguments, and that these arguments are absolutely, they're political to the point that they're nonsensical. And so it's important for me to share with you that when it comes to statehood, when it comes to our autonomy, and keep in mind, DC has more residents than 2 states in the union. Federal taxes than 22 states in the union. Mm-hmm. So it is so very important that you understand that this is important to you. Mm-hmm. And as you can see on the screen, that's what I have to share with you. We pay more in federal taxes in 22 states. We pay more per capita than any other state in the union. And just based on economics, and Ron, I heard you point that out to the folks on the panel tonight. Economically, we are equal or even superior, which I don't want to use that word, to others in this country. But we are still colonized. And that is problematic within itself.
Yes, it is. It is. Are you able to switch the screen since this isn't going to work? So that we can go back?
I'm
Thank you.
on my way to do just that.
I appreciate that. And you make such a valid point. We are still colonized. And that's really why I wanted to bring the discussion in such a hodgepodge way this evening, was because it's important that we help to raise the consciousness around the issues. Oftentimes we wait until it's time to vote to try to cram all this information down people's throat and get them to make a decision. But we're hoping that living through a pandemic with elected leaderships that have not included their issues, it's important for us to start talking about our issues so we can start understanding how we can be empowered to do better by ourselves. Hey, Mr. Kenneth Clark, I didn't forget you. And Mr. Perry Red, thanks for that. We touched on the statehood earlier and the importance of us ending this taxation without representation. We have too many issues in our community, and that was the purpose of illuminating them tonight. This gun violence will not stop until we're able to raise the consciousness around the conversation and to hold elected officials accountable and hold our families and our individuals in the communities accountable to be empowered to understand that which they do not. Hey, and as you heard tonight, there are many different perspectives and ways that things can be looked at. So don't get flipped over a label. Don't get flipped over a beef. Understand that it's much deeper than that. And we want you thinking about legacy and multi-generational decision-making. Hey, Mr. Kenneth Clark, before we close out, will you talk to us about the relevancy of our lost rappers and the trappings of fame in our community settings?
If we look at the blueprint of a lot of the rappers we lost the great beloved Nipsey Hussle. Okay, one of the things that I teach and I introduce to the younger population and the aspirants that want to be rappers and whatnot, the importance of the legacy that he left behind. He bought the block. Mm-hmm. He bought business. He helped employed a lot of young men. He gave a lot of men opportunities to where they could create wealth for themselves and let them to be able to be the line agents for the businesses.
Okay, so before we run out of time, that was LA. This is DC. Are you telling me that we need a Nipsey Hussle here in DC to stop these guns?
Yeah,
generation.
I would say, yeah.
So I mean, we only get one. We need somebody of a Nipsey Hussle one.
Yeah, we need somebody to say, "Hey, youngins, this is what you can do. Put these guns down, man. Okay. Look,
Okay, that's okay.
Everybody has somebody they looked up to from every generation that led the way.
Okay, and before we I appreciate that. I appreciate you all this evening. There's no way we can get through this without the time running out, and we're getting awfully close. And so we're going to pick this conversation up next week, and I hope you guys will all agree to join us next week so that we can continue the conversation. Because if you think I even got halfway down my list, you're mistaken. We've got some work to do east of the river, Washington, D.C., most importantly. Who's watching the kingdom, guys? Who's going to allow you to have these kinds of conversations? We're sorry if it gets a little, uncomfortable, but we've got to be able to be uncomfortable in order to be able to tear these institutions down, the colonization that we have all come through, so that we can begin to live again. It's supposed to be a new norm post George Floyd. Do Black Lives Matter? You heard Pastor say that Black is a darkness. It's not necessarily saying that Blacks are this or Blacks are that. So we've got to come out from under these labels, and how we do that if we don't have the conversations, the uncomfortable conversations. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Palms up. Guys, it's been another week, another wonderful week of conversation. We hope you're following the platform. Guys, it is not for anyone else to decide or to tell you how you should be or live. You should have your own understanding and boundaries and checks and balances in place in order that you don't have to fall prey to that. But when we present day get cries of help for folks who can't speak out in their church community because of their possible mental challenges. And when we walk into communities post George Floyd, where the mayor of our city painted Black Lives Matter on the pavement, and we have folks living with mold and rats and mice and roaches, and folks get uncomfortable over at the AG's office and down at DCRA and over at Councilman Mendelson's office and Councilmember White's office. You know, they get very uncomfortable when we point out these very realities, guys. You're waiting on that one person to come and tell us that it's time to mount up. Guys, look around you. That day is gone. We have to be the Martins and the Malcolms. We cannot allow our people to live in despair. When we are divided, we are weak. We are strongest together. Gentrification is upon us. Our children are being labeled and being ushered into the same colonized systems of yesterday. They're telling you and defining for you what mental health is, and then they're coming and telling you you should feel shame of yourself when you come to your worship facilities, but you should vote for who they say you should vote for, because that's just the way it should be. And yet and still your life isn't getting any better. And you allow this, and I say allow this because when you don't use your voice to advocate for your well-being and that of your children and your family, you are allowing the despair and the destruction and the divide that you live with. And we've got to take our power back. We can do this. We will do this. Just because it's popular doesn't mean that's the direction that you go in. Guys, palms up. It's been another week of realness, and I can't wait to do it again with you guys next Tuesday. Hey, if you out there and you need some help, you know what it is. Reach out, let us know. HealthyDCandme.org. Spell the word AND out, HealthyDCandme.org. Go to our COVID-19 rescue page, Healthy CMV rescue page, and fill out the intake. I'm sorry, I get so excited and so emotional because it's just taking off. We are getting your cries for help. We are in the background. We are mobilizing. And Woodbury Village, you know what it is. We're with you, and we're coming back to bring in the big guns, as they say. We're going to get some answers for our people. We're going to get some justice. Mr. Perry Red? Justice. Amen. That sounds like a positive direction to be going in. Hey, my beautiful audience, my overseer, dear overseer Ann, Miss Barbara, Charles, Ken, Lim, thank you guys, Pastor-elect Willie Walker. I am so honored to be amongst you another week and to help have these kinds of discussions to raise the consciousness in our communities. Love, accountability, and oppression, guys. Think about it. Understand, we do this together. And as the boundaries have come down, keep those masks on, keep social distancing, and don't depend on institutions to tell you how to live and be. We can do these things together. Palms up. Amen. Palms up. All right, guys, it's been another wonderful week. Don't forget that Cash App is palms up. The number 4MI, HealthyDCandme.org has got your back always. If you out there in distress, let us know what it is and we come running. See you guys another week. Thank you guys so much, and we love you here.
Thank you.
God bless you guys.